Welcome back to another episode of Church is Stupid.
Comma but.
Thank you, Andy. I still love that we do that. It's kind of my favorite thing.
I think it was also an accident that just kind of started to happen.
It was not. I very intentionally did it.
Okay, I didn't do it on purpose the first time that I did it.
That's fair.
I'll say that much.
But anyhow, welcome back. This week we have a very special guest with us. Well, we have two special guests, but one's less special. Take that, Wesley.
Well, he's been here before,
It's
so
true.
it
It's
makes
Back
it a
by
little
no
easier.
demand.
I think we said at the end of your last time being here that you said that.
My goal
something
was to
like
never
that.
come back.
Yeah,
And
here I
you
am.
failed. You failed your goal.
you were invited back. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be talking, as we've been
do you want
delving...
to introduce who's talking first and
Well, I was
everything?
going
And
to the top.
well, okay, never mind. I apologize. I'll let you
Come
go
at
first.
me. This is what happens
Go.
when I let you have a microphone.
Introduce your topic.
So, because it relates to why we have the guests we have. Anyhow, so this week we're going to be continuing our media series, and we are going to be talking about Christian music. Woo! I promise I won't sing for you and torture you. And so today...
I make no such promise. I just want to point that out.
That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
going to happen.
So today we have myself. I am Ruth.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andy, as always.
I'm Wesley, as always.
And our special guest for the evening, very special.
Billy, as always.
I love it. I love it.
I love how our last names are all as always. We're all family.
We're one big happy family.
It's true. I usually introduce myself as still Ruth, but I decided to change it
That's
up
kind
this
of
week.
creepy.
Well, I'm a
don't
creepy
know.
person, so that's what I do. But anyhow, thank you so much for joining us.
for having
And
me, guys.
we'd love to hear a little bit about you if you'd like to share some of your story.
Sure. Yeah. I'll give you the condensed version. So I'm from Detroit area, born and raised, and probably for the first half of my life or so, and in my mid 40s, and I grew up in church, which was really cool. Grew up in the church my parents grew up in, which was awesome. So a lot of history there with family. When I was about 11, in the old Baptist church, that's how you go forward at an altar call and you give your life to Christ as you do. And when I was about 15, I realized that 11 years old was more of a life insurance piece, and 15 was the Lord and Master piece. So at 11, I realized that God was real and God was who He says He was, and Jesus did what He said He did. I really believed that at 11, but at 15, I was at a youth camp, like a lot of kids are who grow up in church and things, and then God just wrapped me up, and some guy said, "Some of y'all ain't living for the Lord the way you should be," and it was a big mess. And then just started walking with the Lord every day since I've been 15, so a little over 30 years, and I started leading worship at 15 too, which is cool.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, the guy that was leading the music got ran out of the church because he went from traditional to contemporary too fast.
Oh, my.
Oh, well, that's a little less cool, but also
Yeah, so anyway, they're like, who's going to do the music? So my sister and I jumped in.
that's so awesome.
Yeah, and I was 12 when I started playing drums in church, but at 15 I'd been playing, guitar and piano and stuff like that, but more drums than still at that age. But yeah, so went to school for music, have a classical degree in voice and a minor in piano, and love doing that. I'm still hired out as a classical tenor from time to time. My wife and I just sang with the Saginaw Bay Symphony Orchestra about a year ago.
That's so cool.
So that was cool. We were the soloists for their Holiday Pops program, so that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
You're already way cooler than I'll
I
ever
don't
be,
know,
so
man.
I appreciate it.
Wesley, step up your music
Yeah,
skills.
come on. What's up with you, Wesley?
Something. So yeah, that was cool. And then, but I love just pop music, contemporary music, modern music, and so leading worship in that sort of genre has always been my thing. But I've been part of some churches that have traditional services, and I've conducted choirs, and I loved choir in school growing up in college. I thought I was going to be a choir director for a little while, but God had other plans. But anyway, yeah, I was grew up in sort of a small church and been in some bigger churches and some smaller churches through my years, and mainly been a modern kind of contemporary worship leader, but love classical music and all the things therein too. So this is a great conversation to talk about all what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So, and I've been at Hopevale, where I'm at now in Saginaw, for 4 years, and love that church a lot. Pastor Dan Davis is our lead guy over there, and he's just a good friend and a great mentor. So, yeah.
Yeah. And for those of you guys who don't know, which would be pretty much anybody listening, my brother and sister-in-law met at Hopevale, which is just a really cool connection. Makes me happy to think about. Anyhow,
Small world, yeah.
yeah, they're wonderful. But I can't tell them. Don't listen
It's
to this
small
part
world.
because I can't tell them this. But anyhow, yeah, thank you for sharing your story. We're so grateful to have you
Yeah.
come in. He actually drove here, so we made him come to us because we're very rude. But I just
what we
wanted
normally
to.
do,
I
right?
told him he could Skype, so.
Yeah. Which is really
This was
funny.
your fault.
That's not set up yet, so no.
So I lied to him. You're
Oh.
welcome.
You know, we would have figured something out, I'm
It's,
sure.
it's close to being set up, and I know some of our studio. I know you, Ruth and Billy, you guys have a better view of this. We have a lot of cords that are just everywhere right now,
It's
and
true.
we're trying to condense and we're trying to get things to like our working order, and it's taking a little bit of time, and we're not fully always allowed to be in the building, and I'm part-time, and so it's killing me that I can't just come in here and do it. But,
Dude, I just tuned out to everything you just said.
well, it was more
I'm
just a
real
silent
sorry.
rant. I'm not sure it was important at all.
You know, it's okay. It's fine.
There they are.
I have many
Thank
of
you.
them. Wesley, the ever comforting presence. So, Billy, I have a couple questions. What inspired you to go into worship ministry, might I ask? Was it because you started to lead worship so young that you just discovered that you loved it, or was it always kind of a passion?
Yeah, I think the former. So I'd been playing drums and stuff like that as a young teenager, and then at 15, when the music guy left our church, my sister and I were like, well, let's just jump in. We'll help. We'll do it. So, and I just loved it. It was sort of just the culture of the way we did life at that time, and I'd started to get more serious in my faith around 15 too. So, it was sort of just all these life things started happening at 15, and then I remember it was a Wednesday night church service where sort of the core of the church end up coming just for like a prayer and a short devotional, and we used to do communion on Wednesday nights too. And I remember playing piano. Had to be around 15 or 16, around that age or so, and I was singing a song, and people were like expressively worshiping. And I grew up at a Baptist church. People weren't very expressive in those times. And back in
We
those
know
days,
nothing of that in the
Caesar Augustus.
UMC.
Yeah, so like this is 1989, 1990, something like that. So anyway, so some people were being expressive in worship,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, what I'm doing is helping them do that. Like I couldn't believe it, and I began to have that. I was like hooked.
Yep.
And as I look back now, more than 30 years later, you can look back and be like, wow, God did something really cool in that time in my life where He gave me this yearning to be part of a gathering every week. And I knew this at 15. I knew that it would be every week, or it would be or it would be like volunteer. It would be part time, or it'd be full time. Whatever. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew I just had to be there in that experience. So I've been leading worship since then, and never looked back, and just absolutely love it. Love seeing people be part of God's story that way, and singing God's story and singing their thanks. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And you're lucky to be able to hear and respond to that calling so young. That's not always so typical. I think we see lots of pastors who, or people serving in church who run from their calling for a very long time. And so I appreciate that, because I also heard my calling at about probably 19. So I was a little bit older. But I was one of the youngest pastors in the UMC, at least in Michigan, for quite a while. I think now I'm not, though. I think we found one that's younger than me now.
You were a pastoral prodigy.
Yeah, that's
You were
what
the
it
Mozart
was.
of pastors.
What can I say?
You should probably listen to her sermon on Sunday before you say that.
Yikes.
We both know I haven't recorded this sermon for Sunday yet.
Oh, well, no, not this next Sunday.
Oh, okay. But anyhow, that's awesome. And so now, of course, since we were talking about Christian music, I have to ask the very important question of all of you. What is your favorite band?
And I know that you have listed in there Christian or consecutive, right? Or
Well, it'd be secular.
secular.
I don't know
That's
what consecutive.
We had a meeting.
They're
we're calling
in
it
order.
secular now.
Consecutive music is my favorite genre.
I just love one track after another.
Yes, like nonstop, quite frankly.
know what?
One,
Chain music.
two.
You know, one time when I was a kid, I stayed over at one of my friend's house, and the song Stacy's Mom played on repeat over.
You know-
She fell asleep, and it just like 12 hours of the song "Stacy's Mom."
You know,
I still can't listen to it.
I hear she's kind of got it going on.
Do you? That's wonderful. Me too. I'm real sick of hearing about it.
I think that was okay.
Yeah,
never
no,
mind.
I got it. I caught what you were doing there. I
Ruth,
just-
can't you see?
You're just not the girl for me.
Give it up.
I know it might be wrong, but
Going home.
comma but.
See, I love that in getting up and walking away and talking while you get up and walk away.
We get to make fun of you more, and you can't
Your
defend
voice
yourself.
picks up in like my microphone, and then it picks up in Bill's microphone, and then like if you were to walk around a circle, like your voice would just pivot from one ear to the other and then continue around. It's funny in my book. Okay. Yeah. So I guess I can start off this conversation. I guess favorite band being more one that like you go back to kind of thing. The band that I always go back to, I guess I'm focusing more on the Christian aspect.
Sure.
Is Abandon or Citizens Way, which we had I have a whole experience with those two bands, and so it's always fun listening to the music. But also the last one being Family Force 5, which if you do know is very fun, energetic Christian music. And
But Andy, you're not fun.
okay, fair enough.
Or energetic.
All right, so I didn't feel like being called out today. So Wesley, what's you?
With Christian music, I don't listen to like albums front to back or really like a certain artist. I listen to more like songs and tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of indicative of the generation we're in. If I had to pick like a favorite Christian singer, I really like Torrin Wells, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Killer voice. Great songs.
Who is that?
I don't know. I'm googling.
Okay, thank you.
Known.
Yes.
Hills and Valleys.
Okay.
Okay, see,
Okay.
there's a-
We're
that song I
hitting.
know.
We're hitting some things.
And love
Of Bayou.
That's a good one, man.
I wish I could sing that high, but
We
I
had
can't.
a
I can't sing in his range.
we
Torrin
had a girl
Wells.
sing.
Oh, it's a boy.
Sing that at our church.
What?
A couple of years ago. It was awesome. Yeah.
Okay, you're fine.
Did he do?
I misspelled his name, but that's
What's the one?
Apologies.
Reckless Love, or he at least has a version of Reckless Love. I
I think
think
he does have a version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe he does. Yes. I'm not seeing it here, but that doesn't mean that it's not a lot. That
He's been on some other people's
Yeah.
albums and stuff. Yeah. He's good.
Billy, who's your favorite band?
Oh man. I probably have to go with a guy named David Foster. Do you guys know who that is? He's they call him the Hitman because he wrote a lot of hits back in the 80s.
Was he like a
and
country
90s.
guy?
No.
It sounds familiar.
it sounds
The name sounds super
Yeah,
familiar.
right. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, but
googling.
We're all gonna
he
Google.
started off as a. I mean, he's always been a songwriter, but he's a classical musician too, and did some like piano, easy listening kind of things. But he's kind of the guy responsible for finding Josh Groban and
Really?
people like that.
Josh Groban has an amazing voice.
Yeah, he's more behind the scenes, kind of a producer kind of a guy, but his piano playing is just off the chain cool in my mind. So if you have a chance to get any of his recordings, I would say get the album called Recordings. And Wesley, maybe because you're a piano guy, you might like some of the stuff he does.
Sure.
It's like really kind of easy listening, but like orchestral kind of stuff too. But love Michael McDonald, love Michael Jackson, Michael English, a lot of Michaels.
I was gonna say you seem to like Michael.
David Phelps, those cats, yeah, man. So
But I noticed that Michael Phelps wasn't there. Just want to
Yeah,
put that out.
yeah,
Well,
Michael
you know.
Phelps. Yeah, right.
He's
right.
my favorite performing artist. What can I say?
Yeah,
See, I am tragically a failure. And so I go back and forth. I'd probably say if I had to choose somebody who was my favorite Christian artist, I would have to go back to when I really listened to Christian music a little more, which would probably be the Toby Mac era. So I'm going to be that stereotypical person who says Toby Mac because I really liked his stuff. But as far as regular music, I'm very ashamed to admit that I'm stuck in high school and I still listen to Panic at the Disco. And so that's probably the band I listen to the most. I'm a little ashamed of that one, guys. It's okay. But, like, come on, 9 in the afternoon's really cute.
I don't know that one.
Do you-
Okay.
Does nobody
yeah, I
know
do
it?
know this song.
Okay, I
I'm
was
just not
like,
giving you the free pass on.
I know. I need somebody to tell me it's okay, Andy.
They're there.
Thank you, Wesley.
So we're here to talk more about the controversial side of music and what pushes people away, especially during like a normal church service. And I know that it's like halfway through our episode before we're getting to this kind of thing.
But thank you for indulging us with all of your gloriousness.
Yeah, you're welcome. Whatever that means.
We got
hand
you.
gestures. So a lot of what happens, like when I think of Christian music and more the contemporary side of Christian music, I think that's where like more problems arise from, especially when you go to this idea of church is stupid and things that push people away from the church. Because a lot of times people will either grow up in the church and leave for some reason, like when they reach high school, college age, and start making their own decisions, and then will come back at some point. And I guess choosingly or being invited back or however, but they will come back and the contemporary music is either not what they're used to as a kid or is like there's different aspects to all this kind of stuff, and that raises some different issues, as well as there's like different things with people expect on a Sunday morning that you're going to get contemporary. We're going to sing out of, I know in the United Methodist Church, we're going to sing out of the hymnal, which I take major offense to, but that's a different story for maybe
We
a little
also
later.
have the faith we sing. Thank you very much.
And the worship and song.
Which
Do
we
you
never
know how
use.
many hymnals there are? Sorry, side rant.
There's a lot.
There's like 7 or 8 different hymnals in the United Methodist Church alone.
It's true.
We use like 2
Two.
and then one other around Christmas time.
And don't forget, we sing like 10 of songs out of them.
What's in the other 4?
The world may never
There's
know.
actually some good stuff in the faith we sing, and you
Well,
mean the other 4?
The other 4, because I've never experienced them. I think it's Grace who may or may not eventually end up on this. I think it's her that told me that like there's these other sets of hymnals and all this kind of stuff.
See, I didn't know that.
One's Spiral Bound. I have seen that one.
No, there's several spiral. Okay,
Anyhow,
There's
regardless,
so
in the church, music has been a very controversial topic for quite a long time, and for especially, early 80s. I don't know exactly when it started. The push for contemporary music became something that was incredibly divisive, very divisive in churches. And my father, for those of you guys who don't know, he was planning on becoming a worship leader in the church, and he ended up becoming a pastor. Haha, joke's on you, Daddy. I hope you're listening. Anyhow, my dad's great. Yeah.
Why are you calling him out?
I don't know, because I just do.
Fair enough.
Anyhow, he really, really loved the contemporary Christian movement of about the 90s. And so that's sort of what I was raised in. But I knew that the church that, well, no, I don't want to say that because I don't remember if that's what happened. But there are a lot of churches that have split over this idea of doing traditional versus contemporary. And in fact, one of the churches that I attended as a kid, the pastor gotten essentially a lot of flack because they really, really wanted to be a, quote, seeker service with contemporary music and refused to sing any hymns. And the pastor there were some older people in the congregation, so they were like, hey, I'm just going to play one hymn once in a while, no big deal. It was a very big deal. And it caused a lot of people to get really upset and to leave the church, and it was just a hot mess. And that was probably the first time I realized how heated it still is for some people. And even myself serving in churches, I have heard from different worship leaders, I absolutely will not play anything contemporary. Don't even try. If you do, I'm quitting. Like, I've heard that because that's how little they want to participate in it. And so it's kind of interesting to me that I grew up mostly listening to hymns with a father who probably mostly preferred contemporary Christian music. But in my experience, I mean, have you guys, looking at the worship leaders, have you seen that controversy come out to play, or is it something that you feel like mostly churches are past and kind of know their niche now?
I think it really depends on the church. Because Hopeville is all contemporary, right? So I'm sure it's kind of a non-issue for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, people know
Yeah.
what they're getting when they go to Hopeville.
Yeah.
Most churches I've worked for before coming here, for a lot of smaller and mid-sized churches, and I swear every single one of them are like, we do the cool hip hymns here, the new stuff. And then it's always, come, now is the time to worship. I'm like, oh boy.
Hey, don't forget the classic, Lord, we lift your name on high.
If I told you that the song that I completely hate whenever I go to a church, and it's the one that's sung, and some of you may know this, Oceans drives me mad.
Oh yeah.
Please explain further, because I have a friend who will 100% agree with you.
That song, no offense to anybody who loves Hillsong, who loves that song in particular, the writers and the people who made that song and the people who sing that song, they all hate it. I understand it's very easy to play. It's very great for churches to like be able to play a contemporary song that contains 4 chords and like all of this, but it is so overplayed, and I guarantee you will not find a Sunday where it's not played at a church. Which it's not like that I'm taking offense at like it's overplayed. It's just I've heard that song so many times.
Would you say you were called out upon the water?
Yeah,
Your fate
great
unknown.
unknown.
So I've got a joke for you guys. Maybe you've heard this. Maybe you
Yes.
Old Farmer Joe went to the big city one weekend and attended the big city church. He came home and his wife asked him how it was. Well, said the farmer, it was good. They did something different, though. They sang praise choruses instead of hymns. She said, praise choruses? What are those? He says, oh, they're okay, said the farmer. They're sort of like hymns. He said, only different. And what's the difference? Said his wife. Well, said the farmer, if I said the cows are in the corn, that would be a hymn. But if I were to say to you, Martha, 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 oh, Martha, Martha, the cows, the big cows, the brown cows, the black cows, the black and white cows, the cows, are all in the corn, are in the corn, are in the corn, 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 corn. Then if I were to repeat the whole thing 4 or 5 times, then that would be a praise chorus.
It's got to be 8 minutes long,
When
right?
you put it that way, it's like you're trying to write a paper and hit a word limit.
It's true.
So the next weekend, his nephew, a young Christian from the big city, came to visit his Uncle Joe and Aunt Martha. He attended their local church in the small town. When he went home, his mother asked him how it was. Well, he said it was good. They did something different, though. However, they sang hymns instead of praise choruses. And his mother said, hymns? What are those? The young man said, well, it's like this. If Uncle Joe were to say to Aunt Martha, the cows are in the corn, then that would be a praise chorus. But if he were to say, O Martha, dear Martha, hear thou my cry. Inclinest thine ear to the words of my mouth. Turn thou thine whole wondrous ear by and by to the righteous, inimitable, glorious truth. Yea, those cows in glad bovine, rebellious delight, have broke free from their shackles, their warm pens eschewed. Then, goaded by minions of darkness and night, they all, my child, chilly walk, sweet corn have eschewed. Then, if they were to do only verses 1, 3, and 4 and do a key change in the last verse, that would be a hymn.
You know, I think I've heard that hymn. No.
Yeah. Well, you know what's so funny about that is because music is so cultural and it's so associational.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I love how that joke pokes fun at both contemporary
Yeah.
and traditional, like praise choruses and hymns. It pokes fun, and it is fun to just laugh about it a little bit. There's a story. I was at I worked for a year at Treveccan University in Nashville, and I helped kick off a program called the Worship Leader National Praise and Worship Institute (NPWI). So I was the worship chair there, and I was developing curriculum. And one of the classes I formed it started off with talking about this very subject and to tell the students that they were going to be encountering a lot of differing opinions and to help train them in guiding them through some of these conversations. One of the stories I put in the curriculum was Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. So he probably got done with that sometime in the 1820s or so. If my history might be a little off, but
It's okay, we're fact checking. It's fine.
yeah.
No.
So, but Beethoven's Nine, that's where we get joyful, joyful, we
Yep.
adore thee,
Yep.
the old beloved classic hymn that we all know and love. about the 1850s, some people in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, got a hold of it, near about a Philadelphia suburb. And they brought it over to the States, and they wanted to do it, so they had their choir sing it. And the choir sings this big, robust, like flowers before the yada-dee-da-dee-da-dee. The elders and the pastors got up, and they walked out, and they're like, what is this hellbound, hellish riffraff that you're bringing into our church? And like singing of poetry and flowers and bombastic, gigantic music, because Beethoven in his later life was less classical and more romantic in the Romantic era.
Yep.
So it was just very sort of in your face, and it was very new to those people in the States at that time. So you talk about like the 70s, 80s. This stuff has been going on then, and it was going on way before then too. So transitions in church music has been going on a long time.
Beethoven's on our shape note hymns.
Yeah, that's right. The shape notes. Yeah, that's right.
One of my favorite things to do to people when they talk about the staunchness of traditional hymns is to remind them that a lot of Wesleyan hymns were actually old bar tunes.
Yep.
And they were just retooled.
Mighty Fortress is Our God.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was because that way people already knew this, so they just changed the words so people could sing along.
Well, see, that's so key. That's another reason why I feel like people modernize things so they can connect it to something that somebody knows. Paul at Mars Hill in the New Testament, we see, was using the everyday vernacular of that day in order to communicate to people so they could understand what he was saying. And so churches sort of try to do that. They try to communicate in everyday vernacular. They also try to communicate music in the everyday form that people listen to music to on the radios. And, the people get upset about it, and I don't know that they should, so it's like, what's right? The old synagogue type, other than like God is different than us type worship, or a modern, everyday, just tell to me like it is kind of a thing. And I think, quite frankly, I think both are right. I think, I think it's it's like a taste bud. Some people like Chinese food, some people like Italian food. It's just whatever floats your boat. That's okay. And however you're gonna sit into an experience and worship God, But like I think the experience, I think, cuts from an associational difference, and so the taste buds, if you will. But it's also a theological thing too, because I think if people understood theologically that it's okay to worship in those different ways, and it's supported biblically to worship in different ways, I think people would probably tend to be a little bit more accepting that there's a lot of different ways to skin a worship cat. So.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and it's very hard.
Worship cat.
I think because we have to get down to. You're going to be laughing about that all day, aren't you?
No, I don't know what a worship cat is. Nothing. It doesn't matter.
Glorious.
Just trying to think how it would scream when you skinned it. That's my.
We have to
thank
get
you for that
back
imagery.
to
We
what
appreciate
is
that,
the
Andy.
point of what we're doing with music, and I think that if we're looking at Sunday morning worship, we're coming up at the end of this episode, but things that we can explore in our next episode are what is the purpose of music and what are you using it for? For instance, I think there's a big difference between Christian music and worship music. I think those two, we're not very good in the contemporary Christian world at separating those. For instance, I just don't think that singing Francesca Battistelli's I Lost My Keys really makes for a great Sunday morning worship song.
Have you heard that in Sunday morning worship? Sorry, that's just another side note.
No.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
No, but that's like an extreme example to me.
Okay,
That
gotcha.
one's I've never heard it in
Well, you're
worship.
right, though. My
But
pastor talks about the we songs. What are the songs that we can sing together?
Yeah.
We
Exactly.
can actually say we in it, or if it's a song that we can join in together to lift our voices to God.
Yes.
Yes.
And it begs the question, what is worship music for? What's Christian music for? Like you're saying, like Christian music is probably to just get some thoughts going, get to spiritually get ourselves a little bit more asking some bigger questions that might not be able to be answered, or laments or complaints. But worship music, I think, is more adoration oriented and upward oriented, and those types of things that collectively, so you can start doing Matthew 22 better, you can start loving God and loving people better. I think Christian music and worship music does both.
Yep.
You can end up loving God more and loving people more with both of those experiences. But we look back at one of the first prototypes of worship back in the Old Testament, where Moses led the Israelites and freed them, and they worshipped God. And it's as it says, As we understand Scripture, God revealed Himself and He redeemed His people, and that's a continual theme that continues through the Old Testament and the New Testament, where God reveals Himself and redeems His people. He's doing that to us every day, and so we join that first prototype of worship where they worshipped and sang to God, Moses and the Israelites in a collective way. We've continued that through the years to be able to come and do that together to help us love God and love people better.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we want to talk on is really what is the core? What is the reason why we have singing? And also, I think it's not just a contemporary music thing. I think that there are hymns. There are some hymns that really are not worship oriented, that are much more edification oriented.
Yeah.
And a little bit of weird random facts. What I've found is a lot of seminary.
I hate to interrupt you.
Oh,
We
wait,
are
are we
we are
actually-
out of time.
Oh, I started the timer late. I'm sorry. Never mind.
I started mine late too, so just know that. So
Okay.
we're actually like 30 minutes plus right now.
My bad.
So I'm gonna
Yeah,
cut
you
you.
cut me
and-
off.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, no,
No,
this is
you're
only
still-
the first
you're
episode
coming
of the
back.
week. We still got second
Yeah,
episode today.
you aren't free yet. We're still holding you captive. You haven't
You'll
earned
be-
your free mug
You'll
yet.
still be.
On the next episode, will we discuss why Elijah's never here when I'm here?
Yeah,
We
it's
can discuss
personal. Actually, it's
okay.
very
Figured.
personal.
But we are running out of time. So if you guys enjoyed what you heard, if you want to join us in the conversation, go ahead and leave a comment on the YouTube video. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcast, or whatever platform you're finding us on, we thank you for listening, for one. But for two, find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Let us know what you think about Christian music. Let us know who your favorite band is, Christian or secular or otherwise contemporary, wherever you want to go with it. Find us, leave us a comment, leave us a like. I think for all of us here at Church is Stupid,
Come a butt.
butt.
No, Wesley.
you guys
go.
were almost in sync.
It's
I'm
close.
Andy,
I'm Ruth.
I'm Wesley.
And I'm guest Billy.
and we thank you all for joining us.